The world moves at a relentless pace, a constant stream of demands and distractions. This external chaos presents a direct challenge to our inner peace. But 2,000 years ago, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius offered a quiet solution. He wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. This is the foundation of the Stoic inner citadel, the unseen architecture of calm you can build within your own mind. By the end of this, you will possess a practical blueprint for constructing mental fortresses against everyday chaos. We will explore how to turn obstacles into fuel and how to find stillness even in the storm. What does true resilience look like to you when everything feels like it is falling apart? The Stoics believed that within each of us lies a fortress, an inner citadel that no external event can breach unless we open the gates. This is not a physical castle made of stone, but a mental architecture built from your own disciplined perception. It is the innermost part of your mind, the seat of your judgment and your will. This is where your true freedom lies, entirely separate from the chaos of the outside world. The entire practice of building resilience rests on a single, critical distinction, the one between what is within your control and what is not. Your own judgments, your desires, your actions, these are yours to command. But external events, the opinions of others, even your own body and reputation, these lie largely outside your direct command. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He also noted that your ruling faculty, your inner citadel, becomes unconquerable when it ceases to judge the things outside itself as inherently harmful or good. It simply observes them for what they are. Consider two people stuck in the very same traffic jam. One person white knuckles the steering wheel, their mind racing with frustration over the delay, the wasted time, the unfairness of it all. Their blood pressure rises, their day is ruined. The other person, facing the identical external circumstance, accepts the delay. They cannot move the cars, so they use the time, perhaps listening to an audiobook or simply observing their own breath. The traffic jam is not the problem is the first person's judgment of the traffic jam. That judgment is the gate they have chosen to fling open, allowing chaos to flood into their inner world. Where in your own life do you find yourself repeatedly confusing what you can control with what you cannot? Is it in a difficult relationship where you try to control another person's feelings? Or is it at work where you stress over a project's outcome that depends on countless factors beyond your hand? Identifying this single point of confusion is the first and most vital step in laying the foundation for your own unshakable calm. What if the secret to calm wasn't about changing the world, but about correctly identifying what was never yours to change in the first place? This is the profound clarity offered by the Stoic teacher Epictetus, whose words open his handbook with a simple, life-altering declaration. Some things are within our power while others are not. This is the first stone, the cornerstone of your mental fortress. Within our power are our own opinions, the impulses that drive us, our desires and our aversions. In short, everything that is truly our own doing. Outside our power are our body, our possessions, our reputation, our status, and everything that is not our own doing. This separation seems straightforward, but life constantly tempts us to blur the lines. We find a third category, things that are only partly within our power, like our own actions. You can choose to act with integrity, but you cannot control the outcome or how others receive your actions. Think of preparing for a major presentation at work. You can control your research, your rehearsal, the clarity of your slides, and your punctuality. These are your actions, your domain. but you cannot control the client's mood that day, a sudden technical glitch, or the final decision they make. That is their domain. Investing your peace of mind in their decision is like building your house on another person's land. You are setting yourself up for eviction. So take a moment right now to think of 3 things currently causing you stress. Is it a difficult conversation you need to have, a project deadline, a personal goal? Now hold them up to the light of this dichotomy. Write them down if you can, and honestly ask yourself, which part of this is truly 100% within my power to command? The answer will show you exactly where to focus your energy and, more importantly, where to release it. This is not passive acceptance, but active and intelligent allocation of your most precious resource, your attention. Events themselves are neutral. It is our interpretation that assigns them power over our peace. This is the blueprint of perception, the core architectural principle for your inner fortress. The chaos of the world does not crash through your walls on its own. It needs you to open a door, and that door is your automatic judgment. A sudden rainstorm is just water falling from the sky. It is your mind that labels it as a ruined picnic or a terrible inconvenience. The Stoics called this the discipline of assent, the crucial pause between your first impression and your full belief in it. You receive a terse email from a colleague. Your initial impression might be one of anger, a feeling of being disrespected. Cognitive detachment is the act of stepping back from that heat, observing the thought like a cloud passing in the sky and asking, is this the only way to see this? Perhaps they are under immense pressure. Maybe the tone is a reflection of their own stress, not a judgment on your worth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Your strength lies in that space between the event and your reaction. In that gap, you reclaim your freedom. Think of critical feedback. One person hears an attack on their character, their entire day deflated by a few sentences. Another hears the same words and sees valuable data, an opportunity to refine a skill and improve. The event is identical, the outcome is worlds apart. This is not about suppressing emotion, but about questioning the story you are telling yourself the moment something happens. So recall a recent minor annoyance, perhaps being cut off in traffic or a last-minute change to your plans. What was your immediate internal narrative? Did you think, this always happens to me, or that person is so rude? Now, try to strip away that judgment and state the event in pure, objective terms. A car changed lanes abruptly. A meeting was rescheduled. See how the emotional charge begins to dissipate when you stop adding fuel to the fire. This simple act of observation is how you reinforce the walls of your citadel, brick by conscious brick. In a world of shifting values, the Stoics found their anchor in one thing alone: living in accordance with virtue. This is not about being morally perfect, but about building an unshakable core from which all your actions flow. For the Stoic, true success is not wealth, fame, or comfort. It is the quality of your character. Everything else is just set dressing. This inner fortress we have been discussing is hollow without a central pillar, and that pillar is your virtuous intent. The ancient philosophers identified 4 cardinal virtues to serve as a practical compass: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Think of them not as lofty ideals, but as daily tools. Wisdom is your ability to see the world clearly and make sound judgments. Courage is the strength to act rightly, even in the face of fear or difficulty. Justice is your duty to treat others with fairness and integrity, and temperance is the self-command to exercise restraint and moderation in all things. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote that a good character is the only guarantee of everlasting, carefree happiness. He argued that your virtues are the one possession no one can ever take from you. They are yours, forged within your inner citadel. Imagine you are at work and you discover a simple accounting error that has overpaid your department. No one else has noticed. Reporting it will likely mean your team loses that bonus money, creating short-term disappointment among your colleagues. Choosing to stay silent might seem like the easier path, the one that avoids conflict. But the virtuous path, the path of justice and courage, is to report the error. You act with fairness and honesty, even when it is difficult. The immediate outcome might be a setback, but your internal state is one of profound integrity. You have not compromised your core, you have reinforced it. That action builds long-term calm because you know, without a doubt, that you did the right thing. The chaos of potential blame or financial loss cannot shake you because your peace was never dependent on that bonus. It was dependent on your character. Which of these four virtues feels most challenged in your own daily life? Is it the courage to have a difficult conversation, the temperance to walk away from a pointless argument, or the wisdom to see a situation without your own biases clouding the view? Identifying where your compass wavers is the first step toward steadying it for good. The Stoics didn't leave their mental fortitude to chance. They built it with deliberate daily rituals, starting and ending their day with intention. This daily drill conditions the mind, much like a soldier prepares for battle, not when the fighting starts but long before, through relentless training. The morning session is a form of mental inoculation known as Premeditatio Malorum, which is the premeditation of evils. This isn't about pessimism, it is about preparation. Before the day begins, you sit quietly and vividly imagine the potential challenges you might face. You picture the project meeting that could go poorly, the difficult conversation you have been avoiding, the traffic jam that might test your patience. By mentally rehearsing these obstacles, you strip them of their power to surprise and destabilize you. You are not wishing for them to happen. You are simply building a mental immune system so that when life inevitably presents a difficulty, your inner citadel is already prepared to meet it. Then, as the day closes, the second part of the drill begins, the reflective review. The Roman philosopher Seneca was a devoted practitioner of this. Each night he would interrogate his own day. He would ask himself, where did I go wrong today? What fault did I cure? How am I better? This is not an exercise in self-criticism, but in honest self-assessment. You look back on your actions and reactions, holding them up against the compass of virtue we discussed earlier. Did I act with courage when I felt fear? Did I practice justice in my dealings with others? Did I exercise temperance when I was provoked? The goal is not to achieve a perfect score, but to learn and to grow. A modern application of this is remarkably simple and requires only a few minutes. In the morning, perhaps while your coffee brews, dedicate just 5 minutes. Do not just run through your to-do list. Instead, choose one specific challenge you anticipate. Maybe it is that presentation. Mentally walk through it going wrong, the projector failing, the client looking bored. Then see yourself responding with calm resourcefulness, adapting without panic. You have just rehearsed resilience. In the evening, as you prepare for sleep, spend another 5 minutes. Ask yourself 2 straightforward questions. What is one thing I managed well today, and where did I fall short of my own standards? The first builds confidence in your growing strength. The second provides a clear and gentle focus for tomorrow's improvement. This 2-part practice transforms abstract philosophy into lived experience. It turns the principles of perception and virtue into a daily workout for your mind. The challenge is to try this for just one day. Tomorrow morning, prepare your mind. Tomorrow evening, review your actions. Observe without judgment what shifts in your sense of calm, in your reaction to the day's inevitable friction. Does the chaos feel a little less chaotic when you have spent time building your defenses against it? What if every setback, every piece of chaos, was not a brick wall but a brick meant for your fortress? This is the essence of a powerful Stoic practice known as Amor Fati, a love of one's fate. This is the final, resilient layer of your mental armor, moving far beyond simple acceptance into a state of active embrace. It is the difference between tolerating the storm and learning to dance in the rain. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by Stoic thought, captured it perfectly when he wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." This is not passive resignation, a slumped shoulder surrender to circumstance. It is a dynamic, willing acceptance that sees every event, especially the difficult ones, as necessary fuel for your growth. Passive resignation says, "This terrible thing happened, and I cannot do anything about it, so I give up." Active Amor Fati declares, "This thing happened, and because it happened, I will find a way to use it, to learn from it, to make it a part of my strength." Marcus Aurelius constantly reinforced this, writing, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Your objective is to become that fire." Consider the all-too-common frustration of a cancelled flight. The passive response is a familiar script of anger, pacing the terminal, complaining to indifferent airline staff, and allowing the entire evening to be poisoned by a circumstance you cannot change. The Amor Fati response begins with a deep breath and a conscious pivot. The flight is cancelled. This is my current reality. How can I use this unexpected time? Perhaps you find a quiet corner and finally dive into that book you have been carrying. Maybe you use the delay to call an old friend you have been meaning to catch up with. Or you simply rest, giving your body the quiet it rarely receives. The event itself has not changed, but your relationship to it has been utterly transformed. You have taken a brick of chaos and mortared it directly into your inner citadel, making it stronger. So look at one current difficulty in your own life right now. It could be a professional setback, a personal disagreement, a plan that fell through. For a moment, set aside the frustration and ask yourself this single, transformative question. What is one potential hidden benefit or learning opportunity buried within this situation? Is it a chance to practice patience you did not know you had? An unexpected opening to explore a different direction, a lesson in what you truly value. By searching for that single brick of value, you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are the architect of your response, actively building your calm, one accepted moment at a time. Take a mental journey, rising above your immediate concerns to see your life from a vast, cosmic perspective. This is the ancient Stoic exercise known as the view from above, and it acts as the watchtower of your inner citadel, offering a profound sense of scale when your personal world feels overwhelming. When a single worry consumes your entire field of vision, this practice pulls back the lens to reveal the breathtaking panorama of existence. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this mental vantage point, writing in his private journal, "Remember that all of this has happened before and will happen again, the same plot from beginning to end and the same staging." He would contemplate the endless cycles of history, the countless lives lived and forgotten, the vastness of the cosmos itself, all to humble his own fleeting anxieties. Your urgent deadline, that heated argument, the social slight that stings for days, when held against the backdrop of a billion stars and millennia of time, begins to lose its crushing weight. This is not about dismissing your problems as meaningless, but about contextualizing them so you can address them from a place of calm clarity rather than panicked urgency. Think of a time you felt utterly consumed by a work crisis, perhaps a project deadline that felt like the most important thing in the world. Your heart races, your mind cannot focus on anything else, the pressure feels immense. Now apply the view from above. Visualize your city from 1,000 feet in the air, seeing the countless other lives and concerns playing out simultaneously. Then pull back further to the continent, the planet, a pale blue dot in the immensity of space. Consider that this project, which feels so all-consuming now, will be a distant memory in 5 years, perhaps entirely forgotten in 50. The deadline itself has not changed, but your relationship to it has. The pressure valve releases not into apathy, but into a more manageable and focused determination. The next time you feel a strong negative emotion begin to tighten its grip, whether it is anger, jealousy, or fear, pause for just a single moment. Do not fight the feeling, but instead invite in this expansive perspective. Look out your window at the sky and remember you are on a planet spinning through an incomprehensible void. See your momentary struggle as one small thread in the vast, intricate tapestry of human experience shared by everyone who has ever lived. Does the emotion still feel as absolute, as all-defining when you view it from the watchtower? This shift does not solve your problems for you, but it returns to you the spaciousness of mind needed to solve them with wisdom, building your fortress not with walls of fear, but with the unshakable foundation of a wider view. Between what happens to you and your response, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom and your peace. This is the moat surrounding your inner citadel, a buffer zone of conscious awareness that protects you from being stormed by your own initial impulses. Your first impression of any event is almost never the full truth. It is a raw, unexamined spark of judgment, often colored by fear, pride, or past experience. Epictetus gave a simple instruction for this very moment, urging us not to be carried away by the vividness of an appearance, but to say to it, "Wait a moment, let me see who you are and what you represent." This is the practice of withholding your assent. You receive the impression, but you do not immediately grant it the authority of a command. You hold it at the gate for inspection. Consider the sharp sting of an angry email. The first impression arrives like a physical blow, a surge of heat, a narrative of disrespect, an immediate urge to fire back a defensive or equally sharp reply. This is the automatic gate flinging itself open. The Stoic practice is to install a guard at that gate. When that emotional surge hits, you consciously pause. You take a breath and you question the appearance. Is it absolutely true that this email is a personal attack? Could the sender be under immense pressure, having a terrible day, or simply be a poor communicator? What is within my control here? I control my clarity, my professionalism, and my own emotional state. I do not control their mood or their words. From this place of examination, your response can shift entirely. Instead of a retaliatory message, you might draft a reply that says, "I've received your email and want to ensure I understand your concerns correctly. Can we schedule a brief call to discuss this?" You have not ignored the problem. You have addressed it from a position of strength, not reactivity. You have filled the moat with calm deliberation, making it impossible for the chaos to cross. Think of one common trigger in your own life. Is it a certain tone of voice from a partner, a specific type of criticism at work? The next time you feel that familiar jolt, that instant pull toward a heated reaction, make a contract with yourself to institute a mandatory pause. Commit to just 60 seconds of silence before you say or type a single word. In that minute, do not rehearse your argument. Simply feel the physical sensation of the emotion. Observe the story your mind is spinning, and remind yourself that this first impression is just an appearance, not a verdict. That 60-second pause is where you build the moat of equanimity, brick by conscious brick. What changes in your response when you give yourself that small, powerful expanse of freedom? What is the tone of the conversation you have with yourself all day? Is it that of a wise mentor or a harsh critic? This constant internal monologue is the voice of your inner counsel, and its quality directly determines the strength of your mental fortress. A counsel of fear and criticism will fill your citadel with doubt and panic, while a counsel guided by reason and compassion reinforces its walls from within. The Stoics understood this intimately, practicing the art of curating their inner dialogue, consciously offering themselves encouragement, perspective, and correction. Marcus Aurelius left us the most profound example of this practice in his private writings, known as his Meditations. The entire text is not a formal philosophy treatise, it is a record of his inner counsel at work. He is not preaching to others, he is coaching himself. In one passage, he directly advises his own mind, writing, "Do not be disgusted, do not be discouraged, do not be dissatisfied if you do not succeed in doing everything according to right principles. But when you have failed, return again, and be content if the greater part of what you do is consistent with human nature." This is the voice of a wise mentor, not a brutal critic. He acknowledges the stumble without drama and gently guides himself back to the path of virtue. Now contrast this with the way we often speak to ourselves. After a minor mistake, the inner critic might snarl, "I always mess things up." This is a sweeping, permanent judgment that weakens your resolve. The Stoic inner counsel would reframe this with reason and clarity. It would say, "This specific action did not go as planned. What can I learn from it to act more wisely next time?" The first statement is an attack on your character. The second is a constructive analysis of a single event. One demolishes your inner walls, the other repairs and strengthens them. For the next few hours, make a quiet pact with yourself to simply observe this inner dialogue. Do not judge it, just listen. You might notice that critical voice emerge when you face a small frustration or a moment of uncertainty. When you catch it, pause for just a single breath. Then consciously choose to shift the tone. Ask yourself, how would a wise and compassionate advisor, a Marcus Aurelius in my own mind, reframe this thought? Would they offer perspective instead of condemnation? This simple act of redirection is how you appoint a new, more resilient counsel to guard the gates of your mind. The Stoics were not masochists, but they understood a profound truth. To fear discomfort less, you must willingly court it from time to time. This is the forge of resilience, a voluntary training that tempers the mind against the involuntary hardships life will inevitably deliver. It is the deliberate act of stepping out of your comfort zone, not as a punishment, but as a practice run for your own strength. The goal is not to suffer, but to prove to yourself, through direct experience, that your peace and your capability are not held hostage by your external comfort. Seneca, one of Rome's wealthiest men, would periodically practice poverty. He would sleep on a hard bed, wear simple clothes, and eat only the most basic food for set periods. He wrote that he did this to prove to himself that the conditions people fear and complain about are not to be feared at all. He was not rejecting his good fortune, he was inoculating himself against the terror of losing it. He was building a deeper, more unshakable confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you can handle hardship, not just hoping you can. Think of your own relationship with comfort. Does the mere thought of a cold morning without hot water fill you with a sense of dread? Does a missed meal feel like a crisis? These attachments to ease are vulnerabilities in your mental fortress, weak points where future chaos can launch a successful attack. Voluntary discomfort is the act of reinforcing those weak points yourself on your own terms. The modern applications of this are simple and deeply personal. It could be taking a cold shower for the first minute of your morning routine, not to punish your body, but to feel the initial shock and then witness your own capacity to breathe through it and endure. It could be skipping a single meal and using the hunger pangs as a focal point for observing your own mental state, realizing that the discomfort is temporary and manageable. It could be choosing to walk for 20 minutes on a chilly day instead of taking the warm car, feeling the bite of the air on your face and recognizing that you are still fundamentally okay. These are not grand acts of austerity. They are small, controlled exercises in self-mastery. Each one is a brick of proven resilience you add to your inner walls. So the challenge is this: choose one small, voluntary discomfort to practice just once this week. It should be something safe and minor, but something you would normally avoid. When you feel the initial resistance, the little voice that says this is unpleasant, why are you doing this? Pause and observe. Watch yourself move through the experience and come out the other side. What did you learn about your own capacity for endurance? Does the world feel a little less threatening when you know, for a fact, that you can handle a little cold, a little hunger, or a little extra effort? This is how you forge a resilience that is not theoretical, but tested and true. Your mental fortress has only one room that is ever truly safe and active: the present moment. Anxiety is a debt you pay on a trouble that may never come, a future event you are borrowing against with your present peace. Regret is a tax on a past you can no longer amend. The Stoic sanctuary exists squarely in the now, because this is the only slice of time where your agency is real, where your will can actually move your hand, direct your thought, or choose your next word. Seneca lamented this human tendency to abandon the present, writing, "We are always looking to the future. We do not know how to live in the only time we have." We postpone our life, he said, as if the present were something of little consequence. This is not a call to ignore planning or reflection, but a crucial distinction between preparing for the future and being emotionally hijacked by it. The duty of this hour, the perception of this very second, this is your true domain. Think of the simple act of drinking a cup of tea. So often, you lift the mug while your mind is 1,000 miles away, replaying a conversation from yesterday or rehearsing one for tomorrow. The warmth of the ceramic, the subtle aroma, the taste on your tongue, all of it passes by unnoticed, a ghost of an experience. The Stoic practice is to anchor yourself entirely in that sensory reality. For just those few moments, let the entire world shrink to the heat in your hands and the flavor in your mouth. There is no past mistake in that sip, no future worry. There is only the tea and you fully present to receive it. This is a micro-training in reclaiming your sanctuary. So choose one routine activity today, something you do almost automatically. It could be washing your hands, walking to your car, or even typing an email. For just that one action, commit to performing it with your complete and undivided attention. Feel the water on your skin, notice the rhythm of your footsteps, focus solely on the words forming on the screen. Do not do it to get it done, do it to be fully there while you are doing it. What do you notice when you stop time traveling and simply inhabit the room of the now? Does the weight of what was or what might be feel just a little lighter when you are truly, completely here? Chaos often begins with a story we tell ourselves. What happens when we put down the story and pick up the facts? You are about to learn the single most clarifying tool for the architect of your own calm, the practice of objective description. This is the skill of seeing events not as you judge them to be, but as they simply are in their pure, unadorned reality. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to strip away the opinion, to see things without the smoke and dust. He wrote that you must get used to winnowing your thoughts, so that nothing remains that is not straightforward or kind or simple. The goal is to separate the raw event from the elaborate narrative you have layered on top of it. Your mind is a master storyteller, and in moments of stress, it spins tales of catastrophe, personal grievance, and unfairness. These stories feel true, but they are not the event itself. They are your interpretation, and that interpretation is the source of your suffering, not the event. Consider the difference between two descriptions of the same situation. The first is the story, "My boss is a micromanaging tyrant who hates me and is trying to make me fail." This sentence is heavy with judgment, it assigns malicious intent, and it paints a permanent, damning portrait. Now hold that story up to the light of objective description. The facts are, my boss asked for 3 progress updates today and revised the document I submitted. Do you feel the difference in your body? The first version tightens your chest and raises your defenses. The second version, while still describing an undesirable situation, is neutral territory. It is a set of observable facts that you can work with, not a dramatic declaration of war on your character. This factual ground is where your inner citadel stands firm. From here, you can choose a clear-headed response, perhaps by asking your boss about their preferred frequency for updates to align on expectations. The event did not change, but your relationship to it has been utterly transformed because you stopped fighting the story and started working with the facts. So take one current worry right now. Do not say it out loud, just hold it in your mind. Now strip it down. Remove every judgmental adjective, every assumption of intent, every prediction of a dire future. What are you left with? A single sentence of pure, unarguable fact. Write that sentence down. My project is 2 days behind schedule. My partner was quiet during dinner. The number in my bank account is lower than I projected. See how the emotional storm begins to quiet when you are no longer adding to the wind and rain. This simple act of factual reporting is how you reclaim the architect's eye, seeing the situation for what it is, and in that clear space, finding the first brick of a calm and rational response. Just as a fortress has a gatekeeper, your mind needs one too, especially when it comes to the people and ideas you allow to enter. This is the practice of selective social engagement, a conscious guardianship over the influences that color your thoughts and, by extension, your entire inner world. The Stoics were profoundly aware that our character is not built in isolation. It is continuously shaped by our associations. Epictetus offered blunt counsel on this matter, warning that you must be cautious about the company you keep, lest you unconsciously adopt their standards and their vices. He said that if you spend time with a person who is covered in soot, you cannot help but get a little dirty yourself, even if you yourself are clean. This is not about arrogance or judging others as unworthy, but about the sober recognition of your own psychological permeability. Your peace of mind is a precious resource, and it can be slowly eroded by constant exposure to complaint, cynicism, or negativity. Think about your own energy after an hour with a certain friend. Do you feel uplifted, challenged in a good way, and more at peace? Or do you feel drained, agitated, and pulled into a web of gossip or worry? That feeling is your inner gatekeeper giving you a report. The people you choose to let inside your inner circle are, in effect, granted access to the architecture of your mind. They are helping you build, either with bricks of wisdom and support, or with the sledgehammers of doubt and discontent. But this guardianship extends far beyond physical company in our modern age. Your digital companions, the social media feeds you scroll, the news outlets you consume, the entertainment you binge, these are all associations you are choosing every single day. They are a constant counsel speaking directly into your ear, shaping your perceptions of the world and of yourself. An algorithm designed to provoke outrage will, over time, paint your reality with the colors of anger. A feed filled with curated perfection will silently teach you the language of inadequacy. So the practical task is this: conduct a quiet audit of one source of influence in your life this week. Pick one social media account you follow, one news podcast you listen to, or even one friend you speak with regularly. After an interaction with them, simply ask yourself a straightforward question. Did this generally build up my mental fortress, or did it begin to tear it down? Did it leave me with more clarity and resolve, or with more anxiety and frustration? You are not necessarily being called to make a dramatic cut, but to become conscious, to take back the role of the gatekeeper who decides what gets close to your walls and what must remain outside. When you are unsure how to act, the Stoics had a simple question: what would the ideal wise person do in this situation? This figure, known as the sage, is not a historical person to be perfectly copied. It is a guiding star, a mental model of perfect virtue and reason you can hold up as a compass when your own emotional weather is stormy. Your feelings in a tense moment might pull you toward a sharp word or a retreat into silence, but the sage offers a different path, one paved with clarity and justice. This is not about setting an impossible standard that makes you feel inadequate. It is about giving your mind a concrete reference point that exists beyond your fleeting reactions. The philosopher Epictetus reminded his students that the goal is not to be a sage, but to be a person who is always traveling toward that ideal. The sage is the target you aim for, and even if your arrow does not hit the exact center, your aim becomes truer with every shot. Think of a disagreement where you feel your pride is on the line, and the initial heat of anger demands a defensive, cutting reply. In that crucial pause, you introduce the sage into your inner council. You ask, how would a person embodying perfect wisdom and justice handle this? The answer that arises is unlikely to be a list of clever debating points. It might be a quiet suggestion to listen first, to seek common ground, or to state your own position calmly without accusation. You are not pretending to be a perfect being. You are simply using this ideal as a tool to access the most reasonable and virtuous part of your own character, the part that is often shouted down by louder, more primitive impulses. So take a moment to define your own personal sage. What three key qualities would this figure possess to serve as your mental guide? Perhaps your sage embodies unshakable calm, radical honesty, and deep compassion. Or maybe your guiding star is defined by courage, fairness, and a gentle sense of humor. These are not abstract ideals. They are the specific materials for the inner compass that can always point you toward your North Star, especially when the chaos of the world tries to spin you in every other direction. A fortress is only as strong as its weakest point. In the same way, our calm is secured by the consistency between our principles and our smallest actions. Every time we act against our stated values, we create a tiny fracture in the foundation of our inner citadel. This is not about moral failure in the grand sense, but about the quiet erosion of self-trust that happens in life's minor moments. Hypocrisy, even in its most subtle forms, generates a low hum of internal conflict, a background static of unease that undermines any peace we try to build. The Stoic teacher Epictetus placed immense importance on this harmony. He argued that if your principles are one thing and your actions are another, you are at war with yourself. He asked his students a piercing question: how long will you wait to demand the best for yourself and to make your reason consistent with nature? Consistency is the mortar that holds the bricks of your character together. It builds an unshakable self-trust because you know, without a doubt, that you will do what you believe is right, even when no one is watching. This integrity is the unbreakable chain linking your inner world to your outer life. Consider the simple, everyday test of honesty. You are at a coffee shop. You pay with a $20 bill for a $5 coffee. and the flustered cashier hands you change as if you paid with a 50. You are holding an extra $30 you are not owed. In that split second, your principles are on the line. The easy, unnoticed path is to pocket the money and walk away. The path of integrity, the one aligned with the virtue of justice, is to pause and correct the error. It is a small action, almost insignificant in the grand scheme of your day. But that small action is a critical brick in your fortress. Choosing to return the money reinforces your self-respect. It tells the deepest part of you that your principles are not just words, they are the blueprint for how you live. The $30 gained through inaction would be a poor trade for the self-trust you would have spent, so take a quiet moment to look at your own life. Where is there a subtle disconnect between a value you claim to hold and your daily actions? Perhaps you value health but consistently skip your walk. Maybe you preach patience but snap at your family over minor inconveniences. Do not judge this gap, simply observe it with clear eyes. This single point of misalignment is a potential weak spot in your walls. What is one small, tangible step you could take today to bring one action, just one, into closer harmony with your principle? That single act of alignment is how you forge the next link in your own unbreakable chain. Pain is inevitable in life, the Stoics said, but suffering is optional. This is perhaps one of their most liberating and misunderstood ideas. It draws a critical line between the raw signal of pain and the elaborate story of suffering we so often build on top of it. Think of a weather vane on top of your fortress, turning in the wind. The wind itself is the pain, an unavoidable force of nature, but the suffering is the creaking and groaning you add by insisting the wind should not be blowing, that it is a personal insult, that it will never stop. The initial sensation, whether it is a physical injury or a sharp emotional sting, is simply a signal. It is information. A stubbed toe sends a flash of pain through your nervous system. That is the unavoidable part, but then the mind takes over. It weaves a narrative around that signal. You might think, I am so clumsy. Why does this always happen to me? Now my whole morning is ruined. Those thoughts, those judgments are the optional layers. They are the architecture of your suffering. Marcus Aurelius offered a profound perspective on this, writing, "You can be wounded, but you must not be harmed, and your governing intelligence must remain undisturbed." The wound is the pain, the external event. The harm is the suffering you allow it to inflict upon your peace. Your character, your inner citadel, can remain intact even when the body or the emotions feel the initial blow. Consider two people experiencing the same emotional pain, a rejection. The first person feels the sharp sting of disappointment. They acknowledge the hurt, but then their mind spins a tale of permanent inadequacy. They think, no one will ever love me, there is something fundamentally wrong with me. This story extends the pain into a prolonged state of suffering, coloring their entire world for days or weeks. The second person feels the identical sting. They sit with the raw feeling of rejection without immediately building a story upon it. They might think, this hurts, but it is one person's decision on one day. It does not define my worth. The initial pain is the same, but the absence of the catastrophic narrative prevents it from transforming into deep suffering. The key variable was not the event, but the judgment applied to it. So bring to mind a recent moment of pain, however small. It could have been a critical comment from a coworker or a plan that fell through. First, identify the initial signal, the pure sensation. What did it actually feel like in your body? A tightness in your chest, a sinking feeling in your stomach. Now, examine the thoughts that followed almost immediately. What was the story you told yourself about what that pain meant? Did you add layers of permanence, like this will never change, or labels of personal failure, like I always mess things up? Simply observing this distinction, seeing where the unavoidable pain ended and your optional suffering began, is the first step in dismantling the architecture of your own distress. The Stoics practiced a form of gratitude that was less about counting blessings and more about deeply contemplating the temporary nature of all things. This is the mason's trowel, the tool that actively mortars appreciation into the very structure of your mind. It works on a simple, powerful principle that we only truly understand the value of something when we vividly recognize it could be gone. Your morning coffee, the sound of a loved one's voice, the simple ability to take a deep breath, these are not permanent fixtures. They are on loan. By consciously remembering their fragility, you stop taking them for granted and start experiencing them as the profound gifts they are. Marcus Aurelius left us stunningly detailed lists of his own gratitude, not just for the obvious joys, but for the difficult people who tested his patience and the minor comforts like a warm bath or a piece of bread. He was not ignoring life's hardships, he was actively mining every moment for its hidden value, training his mind to see the world as a constant source of provision, even in lack. This is an active, muscular form of thankfulness. It means looking at your functioning eyes and considering what it would be like to live in darkness. It means feeling the strength in your legs to walk and remembering those who cannot. It means turning on a tap for clean water and pausing to appreciate the miracle of that instant, safe abundance. The practice transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, not by changing the object, but by shifting your perception of it. So tonight, when you take a moment to reflect, do not just list the grand achievements or windfalls. Write down 3 simple things you are grateful for, but things you typically overlook. The blanket that kept you warm last night, the device that allows you to hear these words. The quiet moment of peace you found in a chaotic day. In naming them, you are not just acknowledging their existence, you are actively placing a value on them, reinforcing your inner walls with the unshakable recognition of what you already hold. You don't build a fortress in a day, you lay one brick of habit at a time. Grand gestures and moments of profound insight are dramatic, but they are not the substance of a resilient mind. That substance is forged in the quiet, unremarkable repetition of your daily routines. The true architecture of calm is built on a scaffolding of habit, where small, consistent practices automate the process of building mental resilience until it becomes your default setting. Willpower is a finite resource easily depleted by a demanding day. Relying on it alone to maintain your stoic composure is like trying to hold a heavy weight at arm's length indefinitely. Eventually, your muscles will fail. A well-designed habit, however, moves the effort from your conscious mind to your automatic pilot. It makes virtuous action the path of least resistance. The Stoics had a word for this foundational practice, proseuche, which means attentiveness. It is the discipline of moment-to-moment awareness, a constant returning to the present and to your principles. This attentiveness is not a single, monumental act, but the cumulative effect of countless tiny returns to your center, woven into the fabric of your ordinary life. Epictetus emphasized that philosophy was not about having elegant theories, but about daily training. He warned that if your principles are not woven into your daily habits, they are little more than decorative words. The goal is to make your practice so ingrained that when chaos strikes, you do not have to think about pausing or reassessing, you simply do it. Your habits have already done the thinking for you. A powerful way to install these bricks of habit is through a method called habit stacking. You take a behavior that is already automatic and anchor a new, tiny Stoic practice directly to it. The existing habit acts as a reliable trigger, building the new routine into your day without requiring extra time or willpower. For instance, while you brush your teeth each morning, a 2-minute activity you perform without thought. Use that time to perform a quick dichotomy of control check. As you brush, mentally sort the upcoming day, which challenges are truly within your command and which are not. This layers a foundational Stoic exercise onto a mindless ritual. Or during your daily commute, whether you are driving or riding a train, instead of letting the radio fill the silence, recite a single Stoic maxim to yourself. You could choose a line from Marcus Aurelius, such as "The obstacle is the way," or a reminder from Epictetus, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them." Let that one idea be the theme for your morning, turning travel time into a mobile classroom for your mind. The key is to start so small that resistance is pointless. The practice should feel almost trivial, ensuring you will actually do it. So look at your own life now. Identify one existing daily habit that is as fixed as the sunrise. It could be pouring your first cup of coffee, waiting for your computer to boot up, or tying your shoes before a walk. Now, brainstorm one microscopic Stoic action you could stack onto that existing trigger. Could you take one conscious breath, acknowledging the present moment before you take the first sip? Could you state one thing you are prepared to accept today, whatever it may be, as your desktop loads? This tiny brick, laid daily, is how you build a fortress without ever feeling the strain of construction, until one day you realize you are already living within its unshakable walls. The best defense against chaos is not a hope that it never comes, but a confident knowledge that you are prepared for it. This is the logic behind the most powerful proactive strategy in the Stoic arsenal, a practice known as Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. Think of it as a strategic siege defense for your mind, a way to rehearse your resilience so thoroughly that when life's inevitable difficulties arrive, they find your gates already fortified and your resolve unshaken. This is not pessimistic worrying, which is a passive state of fear. This is active preparation, a deliberate mental drill that inoculates you against the shock of adversity by making the unfamiliar familiar. You are not inviting trouble, you are disarming its primary weapon, the element of surprise. The Roman philosopher Seneca championed this exercise with striking clarity. He wrote that he who has always anticipated the freeing of his neck from the yoke of slavery lives in a state of mental freedom even while physically bound. He practiced poverty so that he would never fear it, declaring that rehearsing poverty is what makes a person truly rich. He even contemplated his own death, not with morbidity, but to fully appreciate the life he was living in each present moment. By mentally walking through these scenarios, he was not practicing despair, he was practicing his own unbreakable freedom. Consider the weight of a potential job loss, a common source of deep anxiety for many. The passive worry fixates on the fear, the financial freefall, the blow to your identity. It loops on the catastrophe without offering an exit. The Stoic premeditation turns this entirely on its head. You sit in a quiet moment and you vividly imagine the event. You picture the meeting where you are let go. You feel the initial sting, and then you guide your mind forward. You see yourself calmly collecting your belongings. You envision yourself updating your resume, not as a failure, but as a person stepping onto a new path. You mentally map out your network of contacts. You acknowledge the temporary challenge, and you see yourself adapting, perhaps even discovering an opportunity in a field you had never before considered. You are not rehearsing the disaster, you are rehearsing your capable, virtuous response to it. The event itself loses its terrifying power because you have already lived through your own resilience in the safe theater of your mind. So bring one specific worry about the coming week into your thoughts right now. It might be a difficult conversation, a presentation, or a family obligation that carries tension. Now, for just a few moments, close your eyes if you can and mentally walk through it, but do not just watch it happen. Direct the scene, see the challenge arise, and then watch yourself meeting it with a calm demeanor, with clear words, with a quiet heart. How does your prepared, virtuous self navigate this situation? What is the first small, rational step they take? This mental rehearsal is not a guarantee of a perfect outcome, but it is a guarantee of a stronger, more prepared you, ready to face whatever comes with the unshakable confidence of someone who has already built their defenses. A cluttered room is stressful, a cluttered mind is chaotic. The Stoics were masters of mental minimalism, understanding that inner peace requires not just strong walls, but also a clear, open space within them. This is the practice of mental decluttering, the art of sweeping away the internal chatter and the countless desires that create a constant, draining noise. Seneca saw this with piercing clarity, writing that men are weighed down by their own desires as a ship is weighed down by too much cargo. He observed that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, burdening ourselves with limitless wants and hypothetical troubles that may never arrive. The path to a tranquil mind, then, is not about adding more, but about courageously questioning the necessity of every single worry, desire, and commitment that clamors for your attention. You must ask of each one, is this essential to a life of virtue and calm? If it is not, you have the power to consciously set it down. This is not deprivation, it is liberation. Imagine conducting a simple mental inventory. Take a piece of paper and draw a line down the center. On one side, list all your current wants, the things you feel you must achieve or acquire to be happy. On the other, list your persistent anxieties, the what-ifs and fears that circle in your mind. Now, pick up your pen and begin to question each item with brutal honesty. Is this desire aligned with my core values of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance? Is this worry over something that lies entirely outside the sphere of my control? You will likely find that a surprising number of your anxieties are tied to outcomes you cannot command, and many of your desires are for status or comforts that do nothing to strengthen your character. Draw a single, decisive line through each of those. The act of crossing them out is a physical declaration of your freedom. It is you saying, I will no longer grant this thought space in the sanctuary of my mind. What is one desire or worry you can consciously decide to release today? Is it the yearning for a promotion that has become an obsessive source of stress? Or the gnawing anxiety about a future event you cannot possibly predict? By choosing to let just one of them go, you are not giving up. You are creating precious mental space, clearing the sky of your inner world so that your true purpose can shine through with unobstructed clarity. When your external world is in turmoil, your last and greatest refuge is the unshakable knowledge that you have acted rightly. This is the cornerstone of character, the bedrock upon which your mental fortress ultimately rests. All the practices of perception, all the daily drills and mental reframing lead to this single point: integrity. The chaos of the world cannot reach the quiet center of a person who knows, without a shadow of a doubt, that they have chosen the virtuous path. Shame, guilt, and that low hum of anxiety are often nothing more than the internal alarm bells signaling a departure from our own moral code. They are the cracks in the foundation. But when your actions are aligned with your principles, you build a deep, internal sense of peace that no external circumstance can easily disturb or dismantle. The Stoic teacher Epictetus offered a stunning declaration on this, one that cuts to the very heart of resilience. He stated, "No one can harm a good person because the harm is in the evil act itself, and the good person's virtue remains untouched." They can take your property, your status, even your freedom, but they cannot force you to act against your own character. Your integrity is the one possession that is truly, completely yours to keep. Consider a modern business decision, the kind that tests this principle daily. Imagine you are a small business owner and you discover a legal but ethically gray loophole that would allow you to undercut a competitor and secure a major contract. The profit would be significant, potentially transforming your company's fortunes. The easy path, the one that prioritizes outcome over character, is to take it. The path of integrity, however, is to decline. You choose to compete on the quality of your work and the fairness of your practices, even if it means a slower, more difficult climb. In the short term, you may lose that specific financial gain, but what have you preserved? You have preserved your ability to look at yourself in the mirror each morning without flinching. You have guaranteed yourself peaceful sleep, untroubled by the nagging whisper of compromise. That clear conscience is a form of wealth that no market crash can devalue. So take a moment now and look back on your own life, not with judgment but with curiosity. When have you felt most profoundly at peace? Was it during a stretch of effortless comfort and ease, or was it in the midst of a difficult challenge when you knew with every fiber of your being that you were acting with deep integrity, even at a personal cost? That feeling, that quiet certainty in the center of the storm, is the ultimate architecture of calm. Your journal is the logbook of your inner citadel, a place to survey your mental landscape, note weaknesses, and plan fortifications. This is not a diary for recounting your day's events, but a structured tool for self-examination and deliberate practice, the architect's blueprint for your mind. The most famous example we have is the private writings of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a work we now call his Meditations. He was not writing for publication. He was having a conversation with himself, reinforcing his principles, coaching his own mind through the challenges of ruling an empire and navigating human life. He used his journal as an observer's post, a quiet space to gain a strategic vantage point over his own thoughts and actions. A simple structure can transform this from an abstract idea into a daily ritual. In the morning, your journal becomes a planning station. Before the day begins, you can practice premeditation, writing down the potential challenges you might face and visualizing your calm, virtuous response. This is not about writing a to-do list, but about setting your mental and ethical compass for the hours ahead. Then, in the evening, the journal transforms into a review chamber. This is where you hold your actions up to the clear light of your principles. A powerful and simple format is to ask yourself just 3 questions. What is one thing I managed well today, where I acted with wisdom or courage? Where did I fall short of my own standards, acting contrary to my principles? And based on that, what is one small, specific thing I can improve tomorrow? This process turns experience into wisdom. It moves you from simply living through events to actively learning from them, brick by brick. The goal is not to achieve a perfect record, but to cultivate an honest awareness of your own progress. So the challenge is this: tonight, before you close your eyes, take a notebook or even a note on your phone. Write just one sentence in answer to this question. Did I build my fortress today, or did I let it be damaged? That single, honest sentence is the first entry in your own logbook, the first step in becoming the steadfast observer of your own inner world. Your mental fortress is not an isolated castle. It is part of a vast, interconnected city of humanity, and recognizing this is a source of great strength. The Stoics called this profound connection sympatheia, the understanding that all rational beings are woven from the same thread, facing the same fundamental human struggles. When you feel anger rising toward someone who has wronged you, or judgment toward someone who seems foolish, this concept invites you to step back and see them not as an obstacle, but as a fellow citizen of that same city, a person who is, in their own way, trying to navigate life with the limited tools they possess. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this idea, reminding himself in his private writings that we are made for cooperation, like 2 hands, 2 feet, or the rows of upper and lower teeth. To act against one another, he noted, is contrary to nature. Your hand does not get angry at your foot for being slow. It understands they are part of the same body, working toward a common purpose. This perspective transforms your relationship with every difficult person you encounter. The rude cashier is not a personal antagonist, but a person likely burdened by long hours, difficult customers, or worries you cannot see. The competitive colleague is not your enemy, but someone acting from their own flawed judgment of what will bring them security or success, just as you sometimes do. Seeing this shared struggle does not mean excusing poor behavior, but it does drain the poison of personal resentment from the situation. It allows you to respond from a place of clarity and, when possible, compassion, rather than reactive anger. This shift from isolation to connection is a powerful reinforcement to your inner citadel, because it replaces the brittle strength of solitude with the resilient strength of community. So bring to mind one person you currently find challenging. Before your next interaction with them, pause for just a moment. Instead of focusing on what they have done, try to mentally articulate one single challenge or private fear they might be carrying. Are they afraid of being disrespected? Are they overwhelmed by responsibilities they cannot handle? Are they simply lonely? This small act of mental reframing does not change their actions, but it fundamentally changes the ground upon which you choose to meet them, building a bridge where before there was only a wall. In an age of constant stimulation, the most radical act of fortification might be the deliberate cultivation of silence. Our minds are flooded with a relentless stream of notifications, news cycles, and background noise, leaving little room for our own thoughts to breathe and settle. The Stoics did not see solitude and quiet as a retreat from the world, but as a necessary strategic withdrawal, a way to create the mental space for your rational mind to operate without the static of endless distraction. It is in this quiet that you can finally hear your own inner counsel, the voice of your own wisdom that so often gets drowned out. Seneca wrote extensively about the profound value of this practice, declaring that you must spend time on your own, conversing with yourself. He argued that you need to retreat into yourself, for overcrowded societies lead to vice. This is not misanthropy, it is mental hygiene. It is the act of clearing the debris from the gates of your perception so you can see the world and your place in it with renewed clarity. A mind constantly bombarded by external inputs has no space to process, to judge, to plan its next virtuous move. It simply reacts, but a mind that has known stillness can choose its response from a place of deep, untroubled reserve. A practical way to begin is almost embarrassingly simple. Try sitting in complete silence for just 5 minutes upon waking, before you check your phone or turn on any device. Do not try to meditate or empty your mind. Simply sit and allow your thoughts to come and go without chasing them. Or take a walk without your phone or a podcast, letting the rhythm of your steps and the sensations of the world around you be the only input. In that space, you are not doing nothing. You are actively recharging the most vital part of your inner citadel, your capacity for clear reason. So schedule just 10 minutes of total, uncompromised silence and solitude into your day ahead. It could be in your car before you go into the office or in a quiet room after lunch. Do not fill it with anything but your own presence. Afterwards, make a single mental note. Did the chaos of the day feel more manageable, its edges slightly softer, after you had given your mind this quiet ground upon which to stand? The Stoics kept a skull on their desk not to be grim, but to remember the most powerful architect of a meaningful life, the awareness that it will end. This practice, known as Memento Mori, is the eternal foundation of your mental fortress, a cornerstone of perspective that transforms how you walk through every single day. Far from being a dark obsession, it is a life-affirming tool that sharpens your focus on what is truly essential, cutting through the noise of trivial concerns with the quiet weight of a simple truth: your time here is limited and profoundly precious. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this thought, writing in his private journal, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He was not being morbid, he was installing a filter of absolute clarity over his perception. The argument that feels so urgent, the social slight that stings for hours, the pursuit of status that consumes so much energy, when held against the backdrop of your own mortality, these concerns begin to lose their power. They are revealed as the temporary distractions they are, allowing your true values of connection, integrity, and purposeful action to rise to the surface. The remembrance of death is not a call to inaction, but a call to urgent and virtuous action now. It is the fuel for the courage to have that difficult conversation you have been avoiding, to write that first page of the book you have been dreaming of, to forgive an old grievance and reconnect with someone you love. The modern application of this is not a physical skull, but a personal, gentle reminder that brings you back to this perspective. It could be a specific object on your own desk, a smooth stone you keep in your pocket, or even a single, recurring calendar notification that simply asks, "Is this how I want to spend my day?" The object itself is meaningless. Its power lies in the momentary pause it creates, the split second where you step out of the automatic current of your life and ask the fundamental question, does this truly matter? So let that question land with its full weight right now. If you knew with certainty that you had 1 year left to live, what would you start doing differently or stop doing starting today? The answer is not a distant fantasy. It is the blueprint for the life you are meant to be building right now with the time you are already given. Calm is not a life free from storms, but an inner sanctuary you have built to weather them. It is the presence of a resilient internal structure, an unseen architecture fortified by the very principles we have explored together. You began by laying the cornerstone, the dichotomy of control, learning to channel your energy only into what your will can truly command. You then framed the walls with cognitive detachment, creating that vital space between an event and your reaction, a buffer zone of calm reason. At the center, you raised the pillar of virtue, aligning your actions with an unshakable character, so your peace is built on integrity, not shifting circumstance. You installed the daily drills of morning preparation and evening review, the habitual maintenance that keeps your defenses strong. And you constructed the watchtower of perspective, using practices like the view from above and Memento Mori to see your life in its true scale, preventing any single worry from consuming the entire horizon. This is not a project with a final completion date. It is a lifelong practice of maintenance and strengthening, of laying one more brick each day through conscious choice. The Stoic teacher Epictetus offered the ultimate summary of this inner freedom, stating, "No man is free who is not master of himself. Your true liberty is found not in rearranging the world, but in fortifying the citadel of your own mind." So now the blueprint is in your hands. The materials are your daily choices. What will you build with them today? If you found this guide valuable, subscribe to the channel for more practical wisdom on constructing your mental fortress. We would be honored to have you continue this journey with us, and please share your own experiences in the comments below. What is the first brick you are laying in your own architecture of calm?